Browns players will not stop giving the Baltimore Ravens bulletin board material, and Derrick Henry clapped back at a Browns defensive back who had some very wild comments about how hard Derrick Henry is to bring down. We talk about that and so much more coming up on Locked On Ravens.
You are Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Ravens. Welcome into the show. I'm your host, Kevin Ostreicher of Ravens Wire, here with you on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for being here, making Locked On Ravens a part of your day and your first listen each and every single day. And thank you to all the everydayers, the first-time listeners, or if you're somewhere in the middle, thank you as well. 5 days a week plus more of daily Ravens content and coverage here on Locked On Ravens. We have a jam-packed episode today, as we always do. It's busy season. Ravens are in week number 2, facing off against the Cleveland Browns. And those Cleveland Browns players, man, they just want to keep talking. We got more crazy comments after Jerry Jeudy said that the Ravens secondary had no challenges in terms of what challenges they actually bring to the table. We got more, and Derrick Henry actually clapped back at those comments. So we'll talk about that in the first part of the show. The Ravens also made a genius move ahead of week 2 that could maybe free up an opening or just some money to go out there and make some new additions to the roster. And then we'll dive into a Ravens and Browns preview for week number 2. Want to tell everybody today's episode of Locked On Ravens is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward, Mazda Move and Be Moved. Here with me today, it is from the Ravens Talk podcast and the Locked On Ravens Squad Show, Sam Njoku. Sam, man, I'll tell you, these headlines just come in fast and furious, and I guess the Browns are feeling pretty good about they're feeling themselves heading into week 2 here.
They are super confident. I'm not sure where it comes from. I mean, the film shows a little bit of a little bit of punch into that defense, but oh man, they are firing all cylinders, getting ready for this matchup. I'm a little shocked.
Man, look, the comments from Jerry Jeudy, that in itself was a little bit of a shock. But that you could kind of say, okay, well, the Ravens secondary didn't really play that well. For those that missed it, Jerry Jeudy said that the Ravens secondary presents no challenges. And you think, all right, well, that Ravens secondary was bad in week number 1. That was the only thing he could have said. But then you have 5 former first-round picks. The talent is there. Like, still a little crazy. Then on Thursday, we had Grant Delpit just go at Derrick Henry for, I can't even tell you the reason. I'm still floored these comments were even made. And again, just a little short and sweet, like little jabs. And so Grant Delpit was asked how hard it is to tackle Derrick Henry. And you think, yeah, you know what? Derrick Henry, pretty big guy, pretty hard to tackle even for these NFL players. Grant Delpit very confidently just says, not hard. Not hard. And so Derrick Henry clapped back at those comments. He was asked during his media availability in the locker room about that. And he said that, yeah, he saw that and he saw that Grant Delpit had those comments, and all he had to say was, we'll see on Sunday. We'll see on Sunday. Very much like, okay, all right, I hear you. What you're about to find out is what I kind of took away from that. Again, not like these paragraph long answers from these guys, but it's the rivalry is already flowing, and I think there's obviously some added juice, Sam, from the Browns side of things, with it being the 30-year anniversary, and they're celebrating that, which, again, a spokesperson has said that preparation was made months in advance prior to the schedule being released. This has a lot of spice to it for a week 2 matchup. I mean, look, it's an AFC North rivalry, but we're getting a lot of headlines here.
Yeah, a little bit, and I understand where the Browns fans are coming from. It is a coincidence, but it is a crazy coincidence that the team that left your city is celebrating their 30th year in existence on the back of the football team that, may not have been needed to be made if not for the fact that they were removed from the city. I understand where the fans are coming from, and maybe some of the players who have that Browns pride, if that is such a thing. But man, when the whistle blows, none of that stuff matters. It is 60 minutes of football, and you're telling me that it's not easy. It's very easy, I should say, to tackle Derrick Henry. Huh. It's not hard as a crazy way to put it when this man is making poster after poster with stiff arm after stiff arm. I mean, I made a highlight reel this offseason. I just nothing but Derrick Henry stiff arms to speak of. So quite the confidence for this Browns team that is going to be having a hard pill to swallow come Sunday.
Look, the Browns defense, to their credit, held the Bengals offense to 7 yards in the second half of their week 1 matchup. It was really good, right? That was a really good defensive showing. They're the best run defense in the league right now, giving up just 2 yards per carry. But I mean, why are we lying? Like, why are we lying about Derrick Henry right now? Why are we putting disrespect on Derrick Henry's name? It's okay to say, like, yeah, you know what? He's really hard to tackle, but we're feeling confident. You know, we feel like we have advantages, or, you know, just something along those lines. I don't know why we have to lie and say, like, oh yeah, it's super easy. And by the way, the Browns social media team is just fed directly into this by posting a clip of Grant Delpit leveling Derrick Henry on what was a first down run, where he ends up, I think it's Denzel Ward grabs him by the legs or dives at his legs, and Delpit kind of hits him up high and kind of levels him to the ground. And I'm just like, you're posting like a double-digit yard run is like a highlight reel. Like, congrats on a big hit, but I'm like, and that's another Ravens first down. I'm like, all right, let's keep the change rolling. So I don't really know what they were trying to accomplish there. And we did some quick math before the show, Sam, you and I, and in 2 games last year against the Browns in a Ravens uniform, Derrick Henry, his stats: 31 carries for 211 yards in 3 touchdowns, comes out to 6.8 yards per carry. Just absolutely unreal stuff. So it's not like, oh yeah, we've had a lot of success. We had a lot of success last year stopping him. Like, no, you didn't. Like, you did not. So I don't know where that's coming from. Kyle Hamilton had a really interesting perspective though on the on the whole trash talk thing, right? I think it's an interesting perspective, and honestly, I think he's correct in his line of thinking, where bulletin board material, I think, can be taken a lot of different ways by a lot of different people. But he essentially said he doesn't really understand the whole bulletin board material thing, and not necessarily even just about the comments, but just in general. He said, quote, was I not going to play hard before he said that? I'm going to play at the same level. If you need bulletin board material to go play, that's a problem with you. And I 100% agree with that, right? If you got to amp your guys up and, you know, get your guys ready to play by taking shots at the other team, that is a problem with that team as opposed to you, where, you know, there are a lot of ways to get you hyped up in the whole 9 yards, but be confident in your team and keep that surrounding your team, not about the opposing team's players or opposing team's units, because then you're just getting into all this hot water. And now you see, like, motivation is real. I think, you know, Derrick Henry took it a little more personally than Kyle Hamilton did, but even still, it adds any extra added motivation. And I'm sure Roquan's looking at these comments too, and we know Roquan is about to go out there with a vengeance. So, what's your take, Sam, on Baltimore material? Is it real? Like, is Baltimore material real in your eyes?
I mean, X-Ray Lewis, he seems to use it very often. I still remember that Dallas Cowboys game where pretty much they lied and said that the Cowboys chose the Ravens to have that last game at that Dallas Cowboys stadium. And then, you know, Ray Lewis ran with it. And obviously that wasn't the case, but whatever gets you going is whatever gets you going. I'm sure Kyle Hamilton wouldn't appreciate it if Jerome Ford said, oh, well, you know, Kyle Hamilton's easy to run through. So I get where Kyle Hamilton's coming from. I mean, obviously that's the mature answer. It's the correct answer, but Derrick Henry ain't trying to hear that. I don't think they're trying to hear that. So he's ready to prove these guys wrong. 6.8 yards a carry doesn't instill a lot of confidence in your team. So whatever gets you fired up to get your butt whooped on Sunday, it is what it is. But I wouldn't do it. Not with Derrick Henry seemingly on the mission to get their 2,000 yards so he can be in that movie. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But obviously Kyle Hamilton is right in the grand scheme of things. You're a professional. You play hard every snap, but not smart. Talk trash about the running back that's going to run for 20 carries and maybe another 200.
Yeah, don't mess with Adam Sandler. Don't do it. You know, you mess with the motivator Derrick Henry, you mess with Adam Sandler, man, it might be a bad time for you. So again, like, I'm fine with teams having confidence and feeling like they're going to win. I think that's how you should roll. I think you absolutely do need to have confidence. You can't just go out there and kind of be scared and say, oh man, like, this is really difficult. Like, I don't know if we're going to do this. No, go out there and be confident. But there's a difference between being confident and just being, you know, ridiculous with over the top confidence. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing from the Browns here. And maybe it works in their favor and that's what they need to get up for the game. And they'll come back to those comments. But I think they're are more negatives than positives in that. And even I think the first time with the Jerry Jeudy comments, at least from what I saw on social media, Sam, I don't know if you saw the same thing. The Jerry Jeudy comments, Browns fans were like, "Oh yeah, like yeah, let's go," kind of. And then the Derrick Henry comments, they're like, "Okay, all right, hold on." Now I think we're getting a little too crazy now.
Like, calm down.
Yeah, maybe a step too far. Is that kind of what you said?
1 or 2 steps too far. Yeah, the Browns fans they're smart. They understand what it means to stop this guy. I think there was a guy on the Bills side who said that Derrick Henry won't be much of a problem for the Bills, and Derrick Henry was just a problem for the Bills. So I think the Browns are seeing the writing on the wall with this and hoping to come in there and play some good football. They did well against the Bengals. I know the Bengals aren't known to be a run team, but they did stop the run for the Bengals, and they stopped the pass too for the Bengals. So something to be said about their defense, confidence coming into this game, but there's a different beast coming in. Well, I guess there's a different beast waiting for you in Baltimore in week 2 after a week 1 collapse. So, wouldn't it be me? That's all I got to say.
It also just puts pressure on, like, if you're the team making these comments, it puts pressure on you to, like, live up to those comments. Like, if you don't, like, it's a whole world of hurting, I think, if you don't. So I wouldn't do it, but here we are, and the Ravens, they will have that Baltimore material should they choose to use it. Coming up, though, in the second part of the show, we'll be diving into the Ravens making a really good, and in my opinion, genius move ahead of week 2. It could pay dividends for them as soon as maybe in a week or 2. Maybe not, but there is potential for something to really form pretty quickly with what they did. So be sure to stay tuned. We got a lot coming up on Locked On Ravens. First, the show is brought to you by DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on who delivered. Powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. And for the Ravens, Zay Flowers really delivered in a big way for the Ravens in that week 1 loss to the Bills. Career high in receiving yards, was getting open, finding soft spots in the defense, and he can really build off of that in week 2. When the pressure was on, Zay Flowers came through, no hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching Zay Flowers week to week, his performance was not a fluke. I don't think it will be a fluke for this season. Zay Flowers, he is well on his way to a streak. And just like Zay Flowers delivered for the Ravens, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday, keep the streak alive, fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply, promo period through 11/18. And the show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel's making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to play, player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. Makes every game even more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. And it's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays. And for the Ravens and Browns week 2 matchup, right now on FanDuel, it is the Ravens being favored by 11.5. So if you think the Ravens is home favorites will get the job done, FanDuel is the place where you need to go. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Moving along on Locked On Ravens, Kevin Oestreicher, Sam Njoku, still talking Ravens football with you here. I want to remind everyone this is a 5-day-a-week plus more daily Ravens podcast. On Monday through Friday, we have you covered with that 5 days a week, 6 a.m. Eastern time. We also sometimes have bonus episodes on the weekends when there are headlines, and there are a lot of headlines, so we have a lot of bonus episodes on the weekend, but that's what we like to do. We like to talk about what's going on with this Ravens team. We also do Locked On Ravens watch-alongs during games, so you can see my reactions to everything. And obviously, week 1, we were having fun until we weren't at the end of that game, and you can see my reaction to that. Then we have the instant reaction shows right after the watch-alongs, and then, of course, Locked On Ravens Squad show. Sam is on that with us. We got Sam, myself, and former Ravens receiver Kadri Ismails. We break everything down twice a week, Sundays after games, as well as now Wednesdays. We moved it from Thursdays to Wednesdays, just not interfere with Thursday night football, as we know everybody likes to watch Thursday night football. So we're Sundays and Wednesdays during the season, which is really exciting. Be sure hit the like and subscribe button, video form, and as well as audio form. But Sam, the Ravens, they're always looking for ways to improve their roster, right? This is a whole year-round thing. They do it in season, obviously out of season with free agency, the draft, trades. Well, we got word on Thursday that the Ravens, and this coming from Brian McFarland, and big move, it's out there. The Ravens did a simple restructure of Roquan Smith's contract to create some breathing room in cap space. It looks like they converted $12 million of his $15 million base salary into a bonus that creates $8 million in cap space. And that's huge because the Ravens were kind of up against it, Brian, noting that the Ravens actually had less than $1 million in cap space before this restructure. And we know that the Ravens generally, Sam, like to carry a couple $1 million, maybe a little more than that throughout the season, whether it is an addition that they make through free agency, maybe a trade happens midseason before the deadline. So the Ravens bring themselves $8 million of breathing room, which I think everybody now points to a specific pass rusher that we've been talking about. We've finally gotten Kajir Ismail on this train after months of just working him and saying, come on, Q, come on, Q. Jadeveon Clowney, he visited the Cowboys. Doesn't appear like that's going to happen. He left without a deal, and the reports have been that it doesn't appear that that pairing is going to work out. Clowney obviously had a very successful 2023 season with the Ravens, but with having less than $1 million in cap space, probably wasn't enough to incentivize him to come to Baltimore. Do you think that this is a precursor to what could be a Jadeveon Clowney move in the near future, or just maybe another move?
Yeah, it's potential for something. I think this was maybe a slight wake-up call to the Ravens roster. Hey, don't think we won't make a move. Don't think we won't make a move. It's not the cap that'll prevent us from making a move. It'll be your play on the field this week that'll prevent us from making the move. So if there's a player that didn't play particularly well in week one and they think, well, it's been a little season, they're not going to do anything, not so fast. The Ravens are always working, getting themselves together. Eric DeCosta wants the best team possible. Does that include a Jadeveon Clowney? I would think so. I think there's a good possibility for that. I would say this, that if he didn't get a deal done with Dallas, it's either because Dallas didn't give him enough money or Jadeveon Clowney has a higher opinion of himself than many do around league circles. So just stay tuned for that. If it is that the Cowboys gave him like a vet minimum deal, I get it. But if the Cowboys put their best foot forward and he declined, that could mean the Ravens aren't going to overpay for a guy no matter how bad a certain player may play on the pass rush team. They do have the talent there to get something happening. So I would say, yeah, it's not a move that I would say is nothing. It's definitely something. They're giving themselves room to make a move. Maybe it's a signing of Jadeveon Clowney. Maybe it's a trade. Maybe it's somebody off the street that we didn't really think about that can come in and give the Ravens an added piece. But whatever it is, it's something. I won't say it's nothing. It's not about having room in case of an injury. It's definitely to make a move as soon as week 2.
Yeah. And look, it might not be Clowney. You're 100% correct. But just to have that wiggle room is very important. And it's uncharacteristic for the Ravens not to have that wiggle room, especially with Eric DeCosta, as I mentioned, always trying to make the roster better. Now, let's just assume it is Clowney. Let's just play that game for a second. You mentioned wake-up call, and we saw what the Eagles did do. They had a wake-up call of their own in week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys, and they ended up saying, hey, we didn't really do our job as a pass rushing unit. They went out there and signed Zadarius Smith the day after that game ended. So could potentially be something similar here, but if the Ravens sign a Jadeveon Clowney, I would assume the 1-for-1 would be they move on from David Ojabo because you have to obviously make a corresponding move there. But Ojabo was inactive in that week 1 game against the Bills. Do you bring up do you activate all 5 of your outside linebackers? Mike Green's not going to become inactive, right? That'd be crazy. Tavius Robinson, he's a huge part of the team. So where would Clowney in your eyes fit on this roster, assuming he or another pass rusher would be the move with this cap space?
I don't know if they put 5 on the field, man. I don't know. I know that I give the pass rush some grace for week 1 because a lot of it is not being overly aggressive because you can give up them running lanes for Josh Allen to make plays. So I'm going to wait until week 2. I think that's what the Ravens are doing too. Okay, let's see them do it against a quarterback that's stationary, against offensive tackles that leave a lot to be desired, where you're going to be given the green light to actually go after the quarterback. Let's see how you perform, because if not, I could see them moving up a guy like Clowney for maybe even a Calvin Oy or an Odafe Owe. Those guys didn't really step up. Odafe Owe was non-existent last week. I mean, I didn't see much of anything in terms of him getting pressure on the quarterback. And the Ravens want consistency week in and week out. You know, and I know that he's a guy that'll flash big in certain games and disappear like a ghost in others. So I think the Ravens will have to do the due diligence. Packed roster. I mean, there's guys, Keaton Mitchell was inactive in week 1, and a lot of people were rolling their eyes at that. But that is just a sign of what this roster has in terms of talent. I don't know if they can afford to put 5 guys on the pass rushing unit on the field at the same time and not have one inactive. So David Ojabo, yes, he could be gone, but that doesn't necessarily mean that a guy that started or played in week 1 wouldn't be inactive for week 2 or week 3 or beyond.
All right. Look, I don't know who that would be. I mean, is it one of the undrafted guys? We know Ruben Lowry was inactive, but is that Keon Martin or Jay Higgins? I mean, Martin had an incredibly timed up special teams tackle in that week 1 game against Buffalo in that punt return. Literally could not time it any better. A split second later, and he would have been flagged for interference. So, I mean, look, he had a great game, and the Ravens value that. We know that if they did sign a Clowney does not play special teams. So that's something that, you know, you would have to potentially sacrifice, but I always give it a month, right? I usually give it a month before making complete, hey, this is who this team is, because, you know, week 1, you are kind of working through stuff. You're getting acclimated. Doesn't necessarily, I mean, look, it's not an excuse for what happened on the field. It's still unacceptable that they blew that lead. I'm not trying to, you know, let anybody off the hook, but yeah, you're right. The pass rush was very inconsistent last season, and, you know, kind of picking it up right where they left off in a lot of ways against the Bills in week 1, which is not, it's not what you want to have. But coming up in the final part of the show, we're going to preview that Ravens and Browns game, talk about the offense, the defense, what the Ravens have to do to win, and a lot more. Stay tuned. We got plenty coming your way on Locked On Ravens. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is, honestly, Lamar Jackson, in my opinion, played extremely well in that Buffalo game in week 1. Unfortunately, the Ravens could not get the job done. In my opinion, Lamar was cool. He was calm. He was collected. And even though the Ravens lost, I think that he is moving the team forward by focusing on week 2 against the Browns. It was a tough game, but being able to move ahead, look ahead, and go 1-0 the next week, hopefully that's what the Ravens will be able to do. And that positive outlook, I think, is going to go a long way for the Ravens this season. And I think that's what everybody in the Ravens fan base should be looking forward to and moving forward towards. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Locked On Ravens, Kevin Ostreicher, Sam Njoku. We're still diving into Ravens content and coverage. Be sure you hit that subscribe button and that like button in video form. You can follow along in audio form and subscribe as well. It's the same show, both in audio and video, so you're not missing out on anything. The watch alongs are just video, but that's because uploading a 3-hour reaction without context is kind of hard in audio forms. But those instant reactions after games, those are audio video squad shows, audio video, regular show, audio video. So if you want to watch one day, listen another day, you can do that over here on Locked On Ravens. But Sam, let's dive into this game. The Browns and Ravens both at 0-1 in the AFC North. I want to start off with this. There's been a lot of conversation about just how important this game is for the Ravens. Do you slap the must-win label on this game for the Ravens to not start 0-2, to not start off in the conference 0-2, and to not start off in the division 0-1? Is this game against the Browns in week 2 for the Ravens must-win game in your opinion?
No, I don't think it's must-win. One reason is because they're just too talented not to make the postseason. Now, if you're thinking they need to win this game to be a 1 seed, yes, it's a must win. If you want to host a playoff game in the second round, not just win the division and get that wild card, yes, it's a must win in that regard to get that 2 seed. But I think that this is still a team that's too talented to miss the playoffs. I think it might be a must win for John Harbaugh. I think that this could be a situation where the seat definitely increases in heat, especially if they lose in the same manner in which they normally lose. I'd rather the Ravens go there and just lay an egg than to blow another double-digit lead in the fourth quarter like they did in week 1. So I'm not going to, the Ravens miss the playoffs today, they lose this game. I'm not going to say that because they've shown us that as soon as last year that they can still win even though they start 0-2. I will say this is a little more important because this is a divisional game. It says the Browns team. You don't want to start 0-1 in the division, after losing the game against another conference foe in the Bills. But I'm not going to label this as a must win. For my sanity, yes, it's must win. But for the grand scheme of things, for the Ravens making the postseason, it's not a must win. That's
a bar right there. For my sanity, it's a must win.
1,000%.
Every Ravens fan agrees with you. Every single one. I couldn't do it. 2 years in a row, starting 0-2 in pretty much the exact same fashion. You lose to the team that knocked out of the playoffs in heartbreaking fashion, and you drop a game you obviously should win on paper to a team that is nowhere near you in terms of talent, but you can't get the job done on the field. That would just, it'd be absolutely devastating. Hopefully we do not go there. But obviously, Sam, the storyline is Lamar Jackson versus Joe Flacco. Now, obviously, Lamar Jackson and Joe Flacco are not going to be matching up on the field together. Not like Joe's going to try to cover Lamar Jackson or try to tackle him, but it's the quarterback battle. Joe returning to Baltimore for the first time since he got traded after that 2018 season to the Denver Broncos. A lot of emotions for Joe. He complimented Lamar and reminisced on his time. Lamar reminisced on his time with Joe. Feels like there are a lot of good feelings between those two guys after a lot of speculation and wonder about how they actually got along when they were together in Baltimore. What's kind of your feeling about Joe right now? I think it's he's a lesser version of Jameis Winston in terms of risk reward, where when he's on, he can sling that ball, throw it 50, 60 yards down the field. But when he's off, he is a turnover machine, and hopefully the Ravens can take advantage of that.
Yeah, if there's a time for the Ravens to get some turnovers, it'll be this game. I think Joe Flacco, again, stationary quarterback. If you're going to sign this guy, you best have protection. You best be able to keep this guy clean for 5 or 6 seconds. If you have the tackles in which the Browns have, DeJuan Jones, Jack Conklin, those guys were punished against the Bengals defense that leaves a lot to be desired. So I would expect the Ravens to have success getting to him. And that could force some turnovers his way. I think maybe Joe might be a little more careful with the football. That could also lead to mistakes. So can't really be in your head if you're a QB. Just execute. That's the name of the game for the Browns in this one. But I agree. Yeah, Joe Flacco, he can turn the ball over. If there's a time for the Ravens defense to get some turnovers, it'll be this game.
Again, it was only one game, but the Browns offense did not have a great showing against the Bengals defense. And we know that Bengals defense is, at least on paper, not as talented as what the Ravens bring to the table. The Browns 16th right now in passing offense and 31st in rushing offense. They average 2 yards per carry on 24 attempts against that Bengals defense that, again, it's just like they're not good, but they played well against the Browns. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, we kind of mentioned it as the show went on, and now we're here talking about it again with guys like Myles Garrett, who you have to be able to stop. One of the best defensive players to ever put on an NFL uniform, arguably the best defensive player in the game today. That's your number one priority. You have to stop him. What is your confidence level right now in a guy like Roger Rosengarten, who had a couple tough moments in that Bills game? And if he's matched up with Myles on that right side, I mean, obviously I think you're sending chip help. You're sending multiple bodies at Myles Garrett here, but as we'll get to in a minute, no Patrick Ricard, who did not practice for the second straight day on Thursday, and it's looking like, not official, but looking like he will not be available. Does that lower your confidence level in stopping a guy like Myles Garrett?
Yep, sure does. I'm not going to sugarcoat this, guys. It's going to be tough slowing down Myles Garrett if the defense does what they're supposed to do. We've played against other defenses where you got marquee guys like a Myles Garrett, like a Micah Parsons, where they don't really play him to the strengths of what they need to do to stop the Ravens, which is get him in the interior, motion him around, move him around. So the Ravens usually do a great job of running away from Myles Garrett, making sure that he's not the focal point of the play. So the best way for the Browns to combat that is to have him move around. They don't really do that much I have a sense they're going to be doing that in this game with the way that number 77 played for the Ravens, at least week 1 of the season, as well as Rosengarten. But I think the Ravens may do a little bit more, giving Rosengarten some help. In the last game, they tried to leave him on the island a little bit, didn't work out too well. And having those two together, the miscommunication is there. It's early. Again, those two, even though they played in the preseason, give them a few more weeks to get their groove on, I guess, if you're the Ravens coaching staff. But yeah, Myles Garrett is the X factor in this contest. If you're not in your P's and Q's, if you're not communicating, if you're not correct in your assumptions of what they're doing in the front, could be tough. Could be really tough for the Baltimore Ravens.
Yep. And not only Ricard, Isaiah Likely also did not practice for the second straight day on Thursday. So again, not official, but looking like those two are not going to be available. Jair Alexander was upgraded from limited to full on Thursday. So obviously bodes well for his availability. And then Nnamdi Madubuike, who picked up an ankle injury, he did not practice on Wednesday, but he was limited on Thursday. For the Browns, they're pretty healthy at this point. No guys did not practice for them. Quinshon Judkins, who is ramping up potentially to play in this game, their rookie running back, he was a full participant, so we will see if he suits up for the Browns on Sunday. But this is a team in Baltimore who just needs a bounce back win in the biggest way. Obviously, the red zone issues that the Ravens had in week 1, they had a lot of long touchdowns, but in the red zone, they weren't particularly great right now. And again, it's only 1 week, but they are 33% in the red zone, which is 22nd in the NFL. Great on third down. I mean, those are the types of things, Sam, you have to be able to get the advantage in order to win a game like this. Don't let the Browns slop this one up. Get out early and just continue to put your foot on the gas, I think, is the message that you have to send here. I mean, we talked about it on the squad show, but are you still the mindset that this is going to be a comfortable Ravens win, or, is anything changed for you in that regard?
No, I still think the only way the Browns get off to an early lead is to run the football effectively, which they didn't show they could do against the Bengals defense that is inferior to the Ravens in every regard. And either that or make sure Joe Flacco has to have the game of his life. I mean, he really needs to be a guy that, is out there throwing the football. If you watch the Bengals game, you saw that Joe Flacco, checking down on the football field and the receivers were making plays after the catch. But when he's actually throw the ball further than 10 yards, either he wasn't able to get the ball off in time because the pass protection was terrible, or he was throwing interceptions because the pass rush was in his face and he wasn't able to make the correct read in time. So the Ravens have the formula. They have the talent to get the job done. It's at home. The Ravens are pissed. We know how the Ravens are when they're upset. There's all this thought about the Ravens letting down this team, collapsing, and now it's on a national scale. So it's not just the local media talking about it. It's not just the fans. We got Stephen A. Smith, Nick Wright, the big guys talking about it. So you best believe the Ravens are going to be coming in this game to prove a point against a foe that has been talking trash as well, and some craziness as well. So all that leads me to believe that the Ravens should win this comfortably. Give me a 35-6 win for the Ravens at home to start the season, and then they move on to host the Detroit Lions on Monday Night Football.
Oh, that feels sweet. Would be a huge bounce back and give them a lot of momentum heading into week number 3. Yeah, I think this will be a comfortable Ravens win. I don't think it'll be necessarily like 45-3 or anything like that, but I do think right now, as we record this for Friday, I'm going to go 27-13 is what I will go for right now. So I think, again, that's comfortable enough and confident enough, right? I like that. I think that sounds good, but you know what? I like your idea a little better, Sam. Maybe we'll just maybe we'll go with that one. But I appreciate you as always, man. Thank you for hopping on. Before I get you out of here, as always, tell people where they can find you and what you're working on.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at Ravens Talk Pod. Always talking football with the Ravens fans out there. Also find our show, Ravens Talk Podcast, on YouTube. Also available wherever you get your podcasts. And you got the Ravens Squad show twice a week on Wednesdays at 7:30. And then after every Ravens game, me, myself, Q, and KO, we're talking football, Ravens football. Hopefully, we get a win this time and have a lot more positivity. The comments were a little bleak, sad, angry, but let's turn it around against the Browns and move forward with the season.
Let's do it one game at a time. Start off in week 2 with a win and keep it rolling from there. So all the links to Sam's work in the description down below. Sam, I appreciate you again. Thank you to everybody who tuned in today, made Locked On Ravens your first listen today. Be sure you go make Locked On NFL your second listen today. I'm on there on Tuesdays with Tony Wiggins in the afternoon in the barbershop. You also got Tyler the Madman rolling in the morning. So you can find that on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast, much like you can find us Locked On Ravens wherever you listen to your podcast. So again, we got that 5-day-a-week Ravens coverage, and coming up, we'll have more content for you. If there's a bonus episode tomorrow, we'll have a bonus episode tomorrow. If not, we'll see you right back here on Sunday for the game day episode, followed by the watch alongs. So be sure to stay tuned, hit the like and subscribe button in video form, follow along in audio form, and I will see you right back here soon on Locked On Ravens.